What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay up to date with Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the notification bell on if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Before I get into this video, I just want to say thank you to all the people that showed up to the live at the viewers on Saturday before and after the Carolina Panthers game. Josh and I will be doing that again after the game against the Washington football team. That one starts at 6 p.m., I'm pretty sure, so it'll start at 5 p.m. We'll go live. We'll end the stream so then we can all watch the game, however we normally watch the game. And then right after the game ends, we will be going live and answering all the questions and analyzing anything that you want us to analyze. And that'll definitely be a lot of 53-man roster predictions and things like that. But we will come out with a full 53-man roster prediction at some point before the deadline for the 53-man roster. So don't worry, it's coming. I've seen some comments. I've seen people asking, where our prediction is. It'll come. Don't worry. We're working on that. However, let's get into today's video. What I want to talk about is something that was a major talking point for Ravens fans a lot last year, the NFL 100 top tier list. The top NFL 100 players, basically, is what it is, because it's not like the NFL 100 all-time team or whatever. It's the top players of 2021. And this is a player voting system, okay? There's no analysts involved. There's no coaches. There's no managers. This is voted on strictly by the players, okay? The top 50 was released, I think, in one night, or maybe it was even the top 6 or the bottom 50 of the 100, so 50 through 100 were all released in one night. That was like a week ago, or maybe it was even 2 weeks ago. I don't think there were any Ravens on that list, but there were 2 Ravens that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section down below, and I'm forgetting on somebody that was like maybe in the 80s or something like that, but there were 2 Ravens that made the list. I'll talk about both of them. The first player to make the list was Marlon Humphrey, who was number 38, but obviously the title of this video, Lamar Jackson, is number 24. And the biggest thing to look at with Lamar Jackson is last year he was number 1. Now he's fallen to number 24 on the players voting system. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. I'm going to talk about Marlon first because he was the first person that was ranked. So Marlon Humphrey last season was ranked as number 86. And this year he's coming in, at a much better number at number 38. And the best part about this is that he is in front of Jair Alexander, which I'm just very happy about. I know there's a lot of debates that go around, who's better, Marlon or Jair? Honestly, I think those 2 are the top 2 cornerbacks in the NFL, and I have Jalen Ramsey listed at number 3, but I expect Jalen Ramsey to probably be in the top 10, which is yet to be announced. So overall, Marlon Humphrey being there, I think that shows that he's gaining a lot of respect. He's young, but I think a lot of players are finally recognizing that this guy is an absolute monster. He will lock anybody down on the inside in the slot, or he'll lock you down on the outside and just get his hand in and knock the ball out all the time. I don't think he allowed a single touchdown during the regular season. If he did, he only allowed 1 touchdown. I'm pretty sure he allowed 1 in the playoffs, which doesn't count. But overall, he was just an absolute monster on the field. And I think number 38 really shows that. I think that in that kind of territory, it's very difficult to put players past each other. I'm going to kind of run down some of the players that are around him, because there's just a lot of really, really good players. Like I said, Jair Alexander sitting there at number 30 or number 41. Then we got there's a ton of really good players. As I scroll through, get to the guys. But Chris Jones at 34, Jamal Adams at 31, Joey Bosa at 32, Darren Waller at 35, Quentin Nelson at 33. Those are all phenomenal football players. Those are all Pro Bowl level, consistent Pro Bowlers. Quentin Nelson is the best offensive lineman in the NFL. So I think that goes to show, how good that territory is to be in. So I'm not disappointed with him being only 38, because if you have to remember, there's other positions that are involved that are ahead of him. So in terms of the cornerbacks ahead of him, it's only 2 guys. It's Xavier Howard, who had 10 interceptions last year, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then it's Jalen Ramsey, who, looking at it, I think he's number 13. Yes, he's number 13 on this list. So overall, very happy with Marlon's placement. I'm very, typically Ravens like to get snubbed on these types of lists, but 38 for Marlon, I'm okay with that. I'm happy with it. Now let's get into Lamar Jackson, because that's the main thing that Ravens fans are going to be talking about. And it's interesting because, like I said, it's a fan voting and it's based on last year. Okay. It's based on last year. And Lamar Jackson didn't play in every game last year. He missed out some games. And so that definitely hurt his stock. However, being number 24, I'm completely okay with that. I think that's actually a very fair assessment. If I was ranking my top 100 players in the NFL, Lamar Jackson probably would be in that range, in my opinion. And that's not because I think Lamar Jackson's the eighth best quarterback in the NFL. I've said many times, I think Lamar Jackson is probably number 4 if I'm ranking quarterbacks in the NFL. I can make a case for him at number 3, but I typically put him at number 4. But there's a lot of really good players at other positions. Guys in front of him are like, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack's a monster. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Fred Warner's in front of him. I love Fred Warner. He may be the best middle linebacker in the NFL. One guy in front of him, Budda Baker. Budda Baker just had an incredible year last year. So I'm not going to take away from that one individual year that was very good from a player. Myles Garrett's in front of him. I know this is a Ravens channel. Myles Garrett's a monster, okay? Myles Garrett is an absolute monster. But Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, like these guys, I'm not upset whatsoever about these guys being named in front of here. But I need to know in the comment section down below, are you disappointed? Are you mad at the NFL 100 list for, having Lamar Jackson that far back? I actually think it's very fair, but, overall, the list typically does have a lot of weird circumstances. Typically, athleticism definitely overshines anything else. And it's the players that are talked about in the news get more because, you can only rate the players properly that you've played against. If you've never played against some of these other players and you just hear about them, you have to just think about what you hear. So I know like Keenan Allen is really low on this list. And then like DK Metcalf is like in the 20s, which is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I think DK is pretty overrated just because he's just so athletic is why people love to talk about him. But like Keenan Allen is a monster wide receiver. Like players miss out on other players. And especially because, sometimes you get a defensive end and then they're rating quarterbacks or they're rating, running backs and stuff like that. And I can't say that like, oh, I know more about football, but I watch more of certain players than some other players do. I mean, I wouldn't expect random player, but I'll say Danielle Hunter of the Minnesota Vikings. I don't expect he watches a ton of Joe Mixon in the NFL. But he hears about Joe Mixon, so when he rates, he's probably like, oh, yeah, Joe Mixon. Like, he's never played against Joe Mixon. Or maybe he did, but I was just trying to come up with a random example of two players in different conferences that don't really match up against each other. So they're not the same position. Danielle Hunter is going to be a million times better at ranking edge rushers. He's probably going to be a million times better at ranking offensive tackles, offensive linemen, like that type of thing. But it's how hard they are against you. And so athleticism typically prevails. And so I think that's why Lamar Jackson is getting some praise on this list, is because he does have that athleticism. Having that MVP award really does help him out. But overall, I just think that it's a pretty fair ranking, and I'm very happy with the list in terms of the Ravens players that made the list. I don't know. They don't ever put kickers and punters on this list, so I'm not going to say I would have put Justin Tucker because they just don't put kickers and punters on this list. I don't know if a kicker's ever made the list. And so I'm not disappointed about that. There's no other player that I think would just be like, oh, they have to make the list. I wouldn't be upset if somebody said Marcus Peters should be in the back end. I could see that argument. But overall, Ronnie Stanley was injured. Mark Andrews had a bit of a down year. He wasn't bad or anything like that, but he wasn't as dominant as we had seen in years past. But overall, I like the 100 list and where they put the Ravens on that list. But I know there's definitely some wild things on this list, and I'm very excited to see who the top 10 are. My expectation, I think Aaron Donald should be one. Aaron Donald should always be number one. He's the best player in the NFL. He's one of the best players in the history of the NFL. But, see where Patrick Mahomes, see where Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Tom Brady's been announced yet. He'll probably be up there, but Devontae Adams is probably going to be up there. Going to be a lot of really good players. Derrick Henry. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. And If you didn't know, at the end of every video, I like to do a little bit of Ravens trivia. So Ravens trivia today will be, let's see, what tight end has the most receiving yards in Ravens history? I don't think this one's overly difficult, but I think it's a good question. If you know it, comment it down below, and I'll let you know if you're right or you're wrong. But thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see all of you again tomorrow.